all this entire section they refer as grahasti. And it is the responsibility or the duty of this brahmacharya who grew to the age of marriage to take care of all the needs of the life of all these members, and it is the responsibility of this person now to educate his children in their brahmacharya age. The third stage of this Hindu is referred as upasnya, upasnyanam. Upasnyanam is the retiring age, an age where a person has grown to a level where he cannot actively get involved in these activities. So now he should retire from these daily activities of the grahasti and should concentrate more on performing the rituals and the different sorts of ceremonies that have been designated or designed in Hinduism. And the fourth stage, they say, is the sannyas stage. The sannyas stage, they say, is an age where he should retire totally from all the material world, and he should start to live in celibacy again, and should not consider or think or ponder much about what is happening in the family, who are there in the family, what are their needs. Instead, he should try to more involve himself in all the religious deeds and actions, so that when he dies, his spirit, as according to the Astika of Samkhya, Samkhya Astika is the first and majormost school of thought in Hinduism. According to it, the entire universe consists of soul, the self soul, Atma, and this Atma is attracted towards the Prakriti. The Prakriti, that is the material world, involves Rajas, Tamas. Rajas is the active form or the mobile form of the material world, meaning the mobile form includes the women. It includes your vehicles that are mobile. Every mobility of the material world is referred as Rajas. So your Atma gets attracted towards many Rajas in the world. Then there is Tamas, that is immaterial, immobile, like our homes. Your Atma gets attracted toward the homes, Tamas. And the Satyava. Satyava means which is steadfast. Steadfast is the general life where you forget thinking about the death and you think that you are here forever. So the Sankhya school of thought of Hinduism, it says that unless the Atma, it forgets to get attracted towards these three guns or qualities of the Prakriti, they cannot become equal to the Paramatma, or their Atma will not merge with the Paramatma for their salvation or moksha. So the fourth stage in the life of the Hindu, it requires from him to get more involved only in a celibacy form into godly thought and godly actions, forgetting all the material world, so that when he dies, his Atma merges with the Paramatma and he gets the salvation or the moksha. These are the four primary stages in a Hindu's life. Now, based upon this, he does most of his actions if he is a knowledgeable Hindu. Why do I say knowledgeable Hindu? As a Muslim, there are many things that Islam demands from us to do as deeds of worship, which many of us do not do because many of us do not know them at all. Similarly, a majority of the Hindus today, because they do not study Hinduism in the right perspective, many of them do not know exactly what Hinduism demands from them as a Hindu. Now, in all these stages, when you talk about worship, the concept of worship in Hinduism is not a fixed scale. It is not an obligation. It is not canonical, meaning there is no time set when to perform the worship, how to perform the worship, whether in a congregation or individually. From the Hindu scriptures, the Hindu is not required to obligatory worship the God, neither is there any canonical form, meaning time set to worship the God, neither is there a form of congregation. Therefore, a Hindu can worship the God in any form, anywhere, anytime, as he wills, individually, in a family, in a congregation, based upon the traditions of Hinduism. based upon the different teachings given in the Vedas and the Puranas. To remember the God, the Hindus, they themselves, they have built up the concept of iconography and art, trying to represent the God in a sacred form through art and iconography. Iconography meaning to develop symbols, symbolizing the God. It is with this, because the scripture has not fixed any particular concept of worship, in most of the Hindus, they started iconizing the gods. They started making symbols of God. For example, Om. Om is taken to be a syllable for the Para Brahma, meaning the first and foremost of all the Brahma, the chief Brahma, the chief creator. Similarly, the swastika is taken as an auspicious sign, meaning it is a sign, it's a syllabus for success, for your prosperity. So they have symbolized these signs. And the Hindus in their homes, they give a particular space for a shrine known as the puja room or a puja place, where according to their own concept or their according to their own thought or their need of the time of their life, they place an idol of a Devi or a Devta, which they say is very important because the Hindus believe that God is in everything. The God is in me, the God is in the dog, the God is in the cat, the God is in the rat. God is in everything according to Hinduism, which is known as pantheism in its technical terminology. God is in everything. So now if God is in everything, I am getting disturbed now. Because if I look at that man, I might think that is the God. If I look at myself, I might think I am the God. So therefore, some manifestation of that immanent God, immanent meaning God in everything, that immanent God has to be manifested in my thought so that I concentrate in that particular manifestation while invoking the God. Then they developed those Devis and Devtas, made those Murtis. The Murti of Lakshmi is a manifestation to invoke God for wealth. The Murti of Ganesha is a manifestation of that immanent God to invoke for strength, for valor and for success. This is how they manifested the different forms of God. And this manifestation based upon your own need, upon their own need, they kept in that shrine at home. And they, according to their own convenience, in the morning when they wake up, they go to it, they call it, because generally it's psychological. It has nothing to do with the religious scripture. It's psychological. Every day a human being goes out, it's a new day for him. It's a new age of his life. So before going, he might think the best thing is to invoke the God who is controlling the universe so that things that I need are fulfilled for me in the day. So that is the most commonly used time, even in Hinduism, to invoke the God before leaving the home in the early morning for a new day. It is how they invoke the God. Apart from these icons at home in the shrines, majority of Hindus, they believe in certain primary deities like the Shiva, the Brahma, the Vishnu. So therefore they have the Shiva temple, the Brahman temple or the Vishnu temple. These are the primary deities. What they did is, for these primary deities, the major deities, they made temples in societies so that Hindus of various homes might come and together worship that primary deity which is associated with subordinate deities in the temple, and all of them together get an opportunity in the area to come, speak to each other, show that they are unified in the concept of God and in the concept of worship. And these deities are given certain rituals and rules by the pujaris, by the religious pandits of that particular temple. For example, if you go to one Shiva temple in Secunderabad and go to another Shiva temple in Delhi, the rituals are different altogether. Because the pujaris and the pandits, according to the convenience of the people there, they give certain rituals. All of this I have spoken in order to tell all of you that there is no particular fixed concept of worship in Hinduism. There is nothing defined how to worship God. It is only on the convenience of the person. Whenever he feels, however he feels, he tries to worship the God. And that is how the concept of God in Hinduism is. But still, there are certain common rituals which a Hindu in his daily life might repeat again and again. And these rituals are like, for example, the naming of the child. When they name the child, or they call Shrad. What is Shrad? They say Shrad means to give food to the poor in the name of the dead people, in the name of the deceased people, which Muslims have adopted, imported from Hinduism living in India, known as Barsi. हमारे मुर्दों की बरसी करते हैं हम, and there is a special occasion for it known as Shab-e-Barat.